back here in Greece. My day job is creating programs to influence behavior for governments and agencies and companies. That's great. Thanks so much.
If you want to take it out because it's broken.
Okay, that's fine. But what I've been asked to talk to you about today is the power of markets in terms of improving the welfare of everybody and also increasing wealth as well. So that's what we're going to try and cover. I'm going to have to look up as well because my little screen's dead. So, yeah, I work in what's called social marketing. And the word social, of course, is a nice word. Everybody likes that word. It's nice and soft, and we all like to be sociable. That's good. But the marketing word, for some people, particularly in the not-for-profit sector, is problematic. People think marketing is a bad thing in some ways. So I want to talk to you today about how we can use marketing positively to make the world a better place. And you have a role in that. This is, I would say marketers should be good people. This is Philip Kotler and me. And if you follow Philip Kotler's career, he's probably the world's preeminent marketeer. His last 5 books have all been about using marketing to create social good. So I really recommend you take a look at some of those. And I absolutely agree with him. Okay, so this is what I'm here to talk about, marketing and social good. One thing, just kind of reflecting back as I came up, you gave me a nice little clap, but it was a bit kind of sad, okay, because you've been sitting around for a long time now and you're getting tired and the evening's going on. So just to illustrate some of the power of kind of marketing and influence, I want you to give me another clap, but I want you to do it the way that I instruct you to do it, okay? So let's have a clap from just this half of the audience. If you give me a clap. Okay. Okay. Not great. What about this side? Clap. Okay. Better. This is kind of competition. Okay, it's one of the key elements of marketing. Okay, so this is what I'm going to cover, and I'll do it in 30 minutes, so you only have to sit here for 30 minutes or a bit less if I can do it. Why citizen-centric marketing is really important. You'll hear many of the things that I say you've heard already from some of my colleagues. The same themes will come up. The power of markets and marketing, how to apply some of these principles, and I'll give you a few examples from around the world to illustrate what I'm talking about. So, first of all, why do we need to be citizen-centric in our policy? The guys from the technical department, if you can make this screen work here for me so I can see what's behind me, that would be great. Okay, one of the big things that we face as governments and businesses is that people don't trust us anymore. This is some data from my own country, but the same will be true, I'm sure, in Greece and other countries that are represented here. Trust in all forms of authority is falling all around the world, okay? Especially if you're things like governments, politicians, journalists, trade unionists. A lot of us don't trust those people. A few professions, like doctors and nurses, and professors like me, people do trust, okay? Only, if you look at the percentage there, 80%, so only 20% of what I say is rubbish. Okay, the rest is okay. This is you. Who do you trust? Members of your own community. How trusting are you in members of your own community? Not very high in Greece. Okay, so trust is eroding. This is a problem that we have. There's a bigger problem around the world, and it's manifesting itself in all kinds of political upheavals that we're seeing. It's a tsunami that's coming, probably an environmental one, but a social and economic tsunami is rolling towards us. People are angry. They are unhappy with the way that they are being governed, the way that governments relate to them, but also the way that many companies and organizations relate to them also. There's social division, pessimism, big problem. People thinking the world is getting worse. Anger and fear If you ask people, do you think your kids are going to have a better life than you? Most people say no. They're pretty pessimistic. I think people that think that are actually wrong. I don't just think it. I'm going to show you some data that shows we can be very positive, and we can use that in our marketing programs for good and for wealth creation. I'm sure you've been watching on TV what's been happening in Hong Kong as one example of the way that people are pushing back and taking control. This is something we have to relate to, and the previous two presentations emphasize this. We need to understand, work with people, not try and impose on them anymore. We can't do that. It's not going to work. Okay, we've just heard about Generation Z and the millennials. Put up your hand if you were born between 1950 and 1970. That's about probably 20%, 30% of you. You're the kind of privileged generation. You've got a lot of the capital wealth. You've got more secure jobs often. Probably you own a property. If you're a woman, you spend about 20% more on fashion than younger people do. This is a privileged generation. And basically, you want it how you want it. You're demanding as a group of people in terms of social programs, but also with companies. Put up your hand if you were born after 1970. Okay, well, you're even worse, or better, if you like. You're even more demanding, and as we've heard, you're digitally connected, okay? And you feed that back to companies and your networks, and that has a big impact on both social programs and companies. If you look at all the data about customer satisfaction and general life satisfaction, a number of messages come through that to us, and again, on a kind of global basis, certainly in wealthier countries. This is what people are saying to us as companies or organizations or governments. The first thing is, I don't believe you anymore. I don't trust you. I want you to listen to me. I'm in control now. Your job is to help me fix the problem or get what I want. Okay? It's not your job to fix the problem or supply everything. Your job is to help me co-create that with you. We need to hear this and respond to this if we're going to be successful in business or in social policy. Most of social policy, your government, my government, every government, spends tons of money on trying to do good things with no idea largely how that money is being spent, whether it's the best way to spend that money or not, because the evaluation systems and the feedback systems are so weak. This is a big thing that needs to be fixed. We need more data, we need more understanding. We don't have it. However, if you're starting to get a little bit depressed now, don't. What I would say is, one of my big messages is think positive, because things generally are getting better, as we just heard from the previous speaker. If you look at things like one of the big public health successes around the world, number of children dying in Africa. If you watch your TV, you see a picture of Africa, it's usually of a starving child. That's not how Africa is now. It's a dynamic, growing economy in many countries. There are a few pretty terrible places, but most places are getting much better. We've halved the infant death rate in Africa in the last 20 years. Okay. What do you think is the average life expectancy in the world these days? Correct answer, 70. Okay. What about literacy around the world? What percentage of the population around the world are literate these days? 80%. Okay. Huge successes. These successes are creating new kinds of communities that are more demanding, more informed, more connected. Okay. Generally, what's happened over the last couple of hundred years, we all started off down here, poor and sick, 200 years ago. And what's been happening is all these bubbles represent countries. We've been moving up the scale. Everybody is getting richer and healthier. Okay? New market opportunities in that, need for new kinds of social programs. If you don't know, from the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, Sweden, they produce great data sets about what's happening around the world with live animation. Go have a look at Gapminder, very useful for understanding why we should be more positive about what's happening. Also, what happens is when you educate people and empower them and they get a bit richer, they don't like governments and organizations telling them what to do. Okay? This is not a problem. This is a success that we need to use. Okay. This is a great book as well if you're interested in these issues. This is a picture of my mother. My mother's the little baby sitting on my grandmother's knee at the end of the picture. 2 generations ago, all of these people and more lived in one small house. They did not have electricity. They did not have a toilet in the house. They were poor. They didn't always eat very well, i.e. they were hungry. Their working conditions were bad. They got injured at work. 2 generations, transformation. Okay. And this is happening around the world. Okay, so things are not as bad as we may think they are. It's getting better. People are more demanding. They're more engaged. They want more from us. First message. Second message, the power of markets to shape change. I have to keep turning around because if I stand over there, they can't film me. Marketing has got some problems. People don't like the idea. Many people don't like the idea of marketing. They think it's manipulative. It's making people buy stuff they don't want. It's kind of helping to create sort of bad body image for people. It's pushing junk food. Lots and lots of problems. Okay, just suspend. If you have some of those negative thoughts about marketing, just suspend that kind of negativity for the next 10 minutes or so, and I'll show you why we can. I mean, there's certainly some really bad marketing that goes on that makes the world a worse place, but we can use some of the principles of marketing to make the world a better place. Okay. Markets and marketing's advantage over government-run programs, directed programs, is it's decentralized, it's competitive, it empowers citizens, it links resources to actual results and costs, it responds quickly, and it can operate at scale. It can be scaled up. Okay, this is an example. In Africa, as you know, many places still, still quite a few, don't have access to clean water. And carrying and fetching, getting water out of the ground is a big challenge. A South African company, about 10, 15 years ago, came up with this idea. And the idea is, it's a kind of a merry-go-round. You may have seen these children's play things. And instead of pumping a pump to get water out of the ground, what you do is have a circular pump. The kids push the thing around, they have some fun, and it pumps the water up. Okay? This sounds like a great idea, doesn't it? And lots of money from charities around the world were put into this scheme. Trouble is, it doesn't work. Okay. It's criticised a lot by people in the water aid field. The pumps break down. Nobody locally knows how to fix them. It actually takes a lot of effort, more effort than pumping does to get the water out of the ground. All kinds of problems. Not sustainable program. So water aid says, don't invest in this. Okay, it took a long time to find this out. A lot of money was wasted. An alternative, market-based approach is this one from eWater. eWater is a company. It's a kind of low-profit company. It doesn't seek to maximize profits. It tries to do social good. It's a social enterprise. What it does installs solar-powered pumps. Okay? People pay. They don't have very much money, but they're prepared to pay a small amount of money to have this thing operate 24/7. So when it breaks down, within 8 hours or less, they will come and fix it. People love it. You can pay for it either on your phone or with tokens or with cash. These are 1 or 2 cents. And sometimes government agencies give people vouchers as another way of paying for it. People love it. It provides them ongoing water that's reliable, affordable cost, market solution. Okay. if we're going to use markets, we need to understand sometimes they can unfairly distribute resources and good. So we need to have community engagement in creating and developing and delivering those programs. We need to listen to people. Most companies, most organizations, and most governments don't put enough money into understanding the people that they're seeking to serve. We need to invest more in that. You may know this chap, Winston Churchill, ex-Prime Minister of my own country, and what he said in many speeches was, trust the people, because if you don't, in the end, they will squash you. People are a resource, they are not a problem. Okay. There's a need for the state to work on engaging with members of the population and using that resource, their expertise and their knowledge, to create more effective social programs. People are not victims necessarily. Often, if you spend enough time listening to them, they will give you the answer to solve the problem that you're trying to achieve. Okay? And that could be a commercial problem, or it could be a social one. Thanks. That would really help. And people are doing it anyway. You don't have a choice in this. Should we respond in this way? Should we put more money into listening to the people that we're trying to work with? You don't have a choice, because if you don't do it, you will go out of business. Okay? People are seizing that opportunity. It's not optional. Oh, that's great. Thanks so much. Okay. So we're moving from an expert-driven top-down system or company-out system to a system that's more about bottom-up and engaging and involving citizens. We also, that means, of course, for citizens, we have extra responsibilities. We all have a part to play in making the world a better place. And if you've been listening to the Pope, he talks about artisans of the common good. Every one of us, every day, can do something to help somebody else to make the world a better place as well, not just marketing. Okay. This is an example called plogging. I don't know if you know this one. This is where people are encouraged and they get together in groups to go around. When they're jogging, they don't just jog. As they go around, they carry a bag with them and they pick up litter as well. Okay, as an example. So, what we're getting now in populations across the world, including Greece, is consumer citizens. Consumers have learned through their interaction with faster moving companies and markets to demand more and influence those companies. Those reactions are being transferred into how they want to work with and be treated by government and government agencies and public agencies. So there's a new relationship, and in marketing we talk a lot about relationship marketing. Building relationships and connections with people is key to what we do. So moving away from this kind of professional-led, one-off, adult-to-child, awareness-raising, telling what to do kind of relationship into a more inclusive and engaged relationship is where we're trying to get to. This has big implications for companies. This is the CEO of Microsoft. So he's talking about what is the purpose of our company? Of course, to make money, to create shareholder value, but that is not enough for the employees that work in that company, for the shareholders either. They have a role to play in creating the common good and using their services, marketing and others, to do that. This is a new report from the Japanese Business Federation, and they say there is another imperative about why we need to be more engaged and more into the area of co-production with people. They talk about what are the consequences of the digital revolution that's going on. On the positive side, hopefully higher standards of living for everybody around the world, but there's probably also going to be some downsides. The labour market is going to be disrupted. People that relied on knowledge acquisition and control for their businesses are going to probably end up not having so many employment opportunities. It may cause disparity between rich and poor, well-informed and engaged and less engaged people. And information and access to it is going to be unevenly spread, potentially. So these are downsides that we need to think our way through. And they talk about human evolution going through these cycles. So we used to be hunters, then we were into kind of farming, agrarian society, industrial societies, then the information age, which we're in but leaving, and transitioning into the imagination society. And other people have talked about this as well, moving through these phases into this kind of new world of relationships, communication, and information. So if we think about peopleism and the imagination society, what the Japanese Business Federation have just said is this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be about solving problems and creating value, accepting diversity, decentralization, resilience, and sustainability and harmony, spiritual and also environmental. It's the creating value thing that I want to focus on mostly in the rest of the talk. That is the root and core of everything that we need to do. If you're not creating value 24/7 for your employees or the people that you're seeking to help, you're not doing your job. Okay, so how do we apply these principles? Value is an interesting kind of concept. It consists of many elements, which I'm not going to go into right now, but it's the key thing that we have to be creating. I'll give you an example from my own country of creating value. As you know, in the UK, we like to drink a lot of alcohol. And this was a program aimed particularly at young women. And the problem was on a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday evening, some of these women would go out and drink too much and come out, and then when they're coming home, fall over and bang their head, break their wrists, and other bad things. So the police, myself and a colleague worked on this program in its original form. They were concerned about stopping these women falling over. One, because it was bad for the women, but two, it was costing a lot of money to look after them, get them to hospital, fix them, and so on. So we first thought about, okay, well, why are they falling over? They're falling over because they're drinking too much. Can we get them to drink less? Answer, no. They like drinking, they're not going to stop drinking. Okay? Another reason that they fall over, and the observant ones amongst you will notice in the picture, these women tend to wear inherently unstable footwear with big heels, okay? Which is okay at the beginning of the evening, but as the evening goes on, becomes less possible. So when they're drunk a lot, high heel shoes, wobbly, fall over. Second answer, can we get them to wear flat shoes when they go out? Answer, no. Okay, they want to wear their high shoes. However, what we did with some of our observational research on the streets was that we noticed some women, when they come out, they've had too much to drink, their feet are killing them because they've been standing up in high heel shoes for a long time. They take out of their bag a pair of fold-up shoes and they put them on their feet and they don't fall over. Okay, this is how these women are creating value for themselves. Let's use that information to create a program. So what they do now is they give out what we call flip-flops to people. This stops them in falling over. Highly effective program. You only need to stop 2 women a year falling over for the program to pay for itself, and it creates a better dynamic with the police and members of the public. They also give people lollipops, a bit of candy on a stick. Do you know why they might do that? No, it's not sugar. It's basically to shut them up. Okay. Have a lollipop. Okay, so it keeps them quiet, stops disturbance, and so on. Okay, this is created some value. It wasn't saying don't do that or drink less alcohol. What are some of the good people doing? Let's do that. Yeah, they love it. Police like it. Public like it. These are the kind of common principles of modern marketing strategy these days. Have explicit goals and measure them, be very user citizen-centric, understand and use competition analysis, use all the data and theory from psychology, sociology, anthropology, communication sciences, create value propositions and be systemic in what you do. These are really powerful, tried and tested methodologies that we should all be applying to any program that we're involved in. Contrast that to government. Lots of government programs are not focused around the needs of customers. They're driven by politics often. They're not self-correcting. They just carry on. They rarely die. Not effective. We don't know whether they're effective because we don't measure them properly. Okay. Governments can use markets very effectively to create more social value. Things like rent zoning, where you can actually impact on a market, giving tax breaks for people to create social good and wealth. One of the best examples, you can read this list at your leisure afterwards. A really good example I just recently came across in Sweden is that enshrined in employment law in Sweden is once you've been working at a company for 6 months, you are legally entitled to take a full 6-month sabbatical, i.e. your job is protected, you can go back, if you're starting up a new company. Okay, so this is like an entrepreneurial allowance or incentive to go out and create new businesses, and many new businesses are created in that country because of this. Okay. This is the 2007 OECD report on creative and inventive government. And what it says, again, is use the power of citizens, their ideas, engage with them, and use that knowledge and understanding to create better solutions. Okay. So what we see is, in terms of supplying either commercial or government programs, there's the demand side that we need to understand, i.e. more investment in understanding citizens. On the supply side, we can use citizens to help us create, deliver programs and evaluate them. And in terms of delivery, ongoing co-creation and delivery with citizens. Just some examples now to finish up. Many governments around the world seek to influence us, the citizens, by using 2 main tools. The first is information. They give us information about things, or they use law and legislation with penalties attached to it. These are not, if they ever were, certainly not now, enough to create big change in social conditions. For instance, taxes. If you look at, taxes on things like sugar and trans fats around the world, these don't tend to be very effective, and in a number of countries they've been repealed. So if you're going to bring in a law, you need to make sure that people believe in it and think it's just and proportionate. An example, this is a picture from Turkey. I was being driven by this taxi driver from Ankara airport into town, and what I noticed was in his seatbelt wasn't on. He had just gone to the market and bought a little clip to put into his seatbelt holder to stop the car bleeping at him. There's been a law in Turkey that you must wear a seatbelt for over 10 years, but nobody does, okay? Because they don't believe in it, and the police don't enforce it. The police don't buckle up either. Okay, so people have to want to and feel that laws, if they're going to obey them, are just and reasonable. In Greece, you're smarter than that. This is a taxi driver in Greece. You don't have to go to the market to buy a little clip. You just put it around the back of the seat and clip it in. I thought this was ingenious. My taxi driver coming here today did not wear his seatbelt. Okay. This is an example of information not being enough. This is from the Netherlands. This is a bus stop. When you sit on the bus stop, your weight is displayed in the display and announced. Okay. Not many people sit on the bus stop. Okay. Giving people information can be powerful, but often it is not enough. We know that. What percentage of people, once they've had a really serious coronary event, a bypass operation, change their behavior? I.e. they take up exercise, they eat a low-fat diet, and they give up smoking. What percentage of it? You would think these people would be highly motivated. Only 1 in 9 people. Okay? So information alone is not enough. This is an example, positive example, using competition and marketing principles to create better environmental change. This is in Bologna in Italy, and they have a thing called Bella Mossa, which basically roughly translated means good job, well done. Okay. So you can nag people, don't bring your car into the city. Not many people listen to you. So what they do here is they have an app-powered program called Bellamossa. And what it does is, once you sign up to it, it tracks how you travel in. If you walk in, take the bus, or cycle in, then you accrue points. The points can be exchanged for ice cream, beer, or cinema tickets. Or a fourth option is you can accrue your points and put them towards money given to social charities to do good. And now what happens in the city is you get neighbourhoods coming together to pool their points to give to charity, and neighbourhoods competing against each other to raise the most money to give to charity. This is an incentive, co-creation, highly valued program of work tackling traffic congestion. I would suggest you could use something like this here. Traffic's pretty bad. Okay, this is another example from Bangladesh. A fantastic company called the Social Marketing Company in Bangladesh. In many countries, family planning and feminine hygiene products are hard to obtain. They're expensive, and many programs to distribute them are funded by international donors and so on, which means those international donors have a big influence over what goes on in those countries. Bangladesh decided they were going to stop that. So they set up this company. It employs about 6,000 people now across Bangladesh. And they set up their own production facilities for family planning products, condoms, pills and so on, IUDs, but also feminine hygiene products, which they produce at very low cost, and they kind of subsidize some of the ranges that they give out to communities now. No donor funding, self-sustaining. They're now selling these products to other low-income countries. Okay, so it's a market-orientated solution to a social problem. Okay, to sum up, first message is, if you're a company, a government agency, or anybody else who's seeking to serve people or create value for them, you can't just dream that up out of thin air. You need to understand them, what they want, what they value, what they don't value, how they may be able to help you co-create a solution to something. So more investment in that. We're moving away from an expert or top-down model to a user or citizen-centric model of working. And again, that's been said by several of the previous speakers. This implies a new politics of the common good. This is Michael Sandel. He's an American legal ethicist. And what he talks about is, for politicians and people in charge, elites, they have to be more scrupulous and open to challenge. And that's happening. That's inevitable now. And we have a responsibility to also engage and be part of the solution. It's not enough for us to moan and be pessimistic about what's going on. We are part of the solution going forward. So we need to help citizens demand and encourage them to demand engagement in the selection, development, implementation, and evaluation of all programs, or product development, delivery, and consumption. It means more partnerships between the private sector, the for-profit sector, and the not-profit sector, breaking down those barriers and working together and using the expertise and the understanding that we have. Businesses are often much better at logistics, being very precise about what they're doing, measuring what they're doing, and delivering great products. Not-for-profit organizations often have a better understanding of the people that they're seeking to serve. Bring that together, that's a powerful cocktail. So markets and communities working together. If we apply some of these principles, we can have a bigger impact on behavior, we can save money, use money more wisely, we can enable citizens and encourage them to engage. They're going to feel better about that, and we'll have more responsive and effective government. So, people are not subservient anymore. They're information rich increasingly. They're empowered. They want to be part of the solution. We have to listen to them and work with them. So to sum up, the last the 4 points I hope you'll take away is, we are now, or we should all try to be active consumer citizens, put as much effort into acting and engaging as being a citizen as we do a consumer. We should use markets more often. They have many advantages. Try and bring markets into solving social solutions, but also engage and listen to and work with communities as part of that. Create value 24/7. If we're not doing that, that's the key question every day. How is this creating value? If it's not, or I can't manage it, stop what you're doing. And lastly, bring private and public organisations together to create synergy and solve some of these big social and economic problems. If you're interested in more, come chat with me over the break. Thanks so much.